Good afternoon. My name is Joy, and I'm a sexual assault advocate here at C.a.r.e., the Center for Abuse and Rape Emergencies. We have a guest with us today, our own Chad Pardue, who is our liaison. Hi, Chad, with
Hello.
the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Unfortunately, we do not have our presenter from the sexual assault nurse examiner, and she will be with us in a coming segment. So please look forward to that because it's very important work that they do, as well as very important work that our victim advocate at the sheriff's office does. Chad, can you tell us how long you've worked at C.a.r.e. and a little bit about your job?
I've worked at C.a.r.e. since July of 2019.
Okay.
Uh, and as you said earlier, I'm the law enforcement liaison for you guys at the sheriff's office. I also go to the more local office, which is the Punta Gorda PD. And my overall position there is to be an advocate for domestic and sexual violence for C.a.r.e., but also to help victims of violent crime Charlotte County wide with either victim crime compensation or any other outside resource that they may need, whether it's grief counseling from, I think it's Tidewater Hospice.
Right. Right.
Um,
Thank you, Chad. You know, a lot of people are not aware that victim advocates can file for victims crime comp. It's something we do at C.a.r.e. It's something you do. Can you do it at the sheriff's office if you're working with someone?
they can come into the sheriff's office and do it. I can send them a link. Typically people are very busy, with their day to day. So I try and make it as easy on them as possible. If they feel like they can navigate it on their own, I can email them the link. At times, maybe scan and fax the actual paperwork. I can explain in email
Okay.
what to put in the fields, and then someone from the victim crime compensation organization will then get in contact with the victim, and then I'll no longer need to be the third party. So that way, if there's any missing information or documentation, those two parties can just speak directly.
You know, and that is a follow-up. We were lucky to have Angela Buchanan on from the Victims Crimes Comp. So this is how it starts. If you remember talking to Angela and how she carries it forward, make sure you qualify. Chad and our other advocates at C.a.r.e. start the process for you. But what this conversation and these conversations try to do is get the information out to the public that don't even know that this exists. So I bet there's other services that we provide. Why is it easier, or do you think it's easier being at the sheriff's office right there? Why don't you just work over here with us?
Well, my main job there is to kind of find people that maybe fall through the cracks.
Okay.
So if someone is arrested, then there is a victim advocate at the state attorney's office that deals directly with the victim. There's all sorts of outreach programs here, so someone can always contact C.a.r.e. themselves. But there will be times when maybe someone doesn't know of C.a.r.e.'s existence, or they're just very hesitant for reaching out for help. And let's say a deputy responds to a domestic call, and maybe I read some underlining red flag behavior that I learned through training here. Maybe it's a violent reaction to an argument, maybe not necessarily against her, but against property, just something that stands out that's not typically normal.
Mm-hmm.
Or if there is repeat calls for service to the same household, maybe you're seeing a pattern of
Right.
fights and maybe they're slowly escalating. And then I'll try and contact those people, people that I think may need help, but they're not quite asking for it.
Okay, so that's a true outreach effort on your part.
So I'll try and get in contact with them and see if they'll speak to me for a few minutes. And we'll just, sometimes they open up to me and tell me what's going on. Other times they'll tell me they're fine. And of course, I always see if I can leave them with some resources, which is typically, C.a.r.e.'s hotline number and the either it's the domestic violence program manager's cell phone or the sexual violence program manager's cell phone number or our lawyer's cell phone number if maybe the victim feels like a restraining order or protection order is something that's necessary.
Well,
And
Chad, I'm glad you're explaining that, because we talk about it takes a whole community, not just us as advocates, and certainly not just law enforcement, not just the courts, not, just the victims pushing. It truly is a coordinated community response. And I think the fact that you're at the sheriff's office, we're in Inglewood, we're at different offices, helps bring that to the victim so it's easier. I think we provide better access that way. Would you agree?
yeah, I mean, there are times where, I've referred someone to the Inglewood office just because they live in Inglewood, they work maybe in Northport
Mm-hmm.
or maybe in Sarasota, so they got a long drive. And if I tell them they got to drive all the way to Punta Gorda to talk to me, they'll probably be very hesitant.
Right, right.
So the
And I
fact
know
that
for a fact that it's worked. You've referred people, we've followed up with them, they've come to support group or they've come to counseling, and they may never have called us if you hadn't made the initial call. So I love that that's a working outreach effort that is effective. What would you like the community to know about your job? It can't be easy.
uh, well, I mean, sometimes it can be difficult. It all depends on what it is I'm dealing with. Because I mean, I deal with uh, all the violent crimes from Charlotte County. So whether it's an accidental death or a homicide or a robbery and an assault, I'm trying to reach out to the victim to see if there's, because they could qualify for victim crime compensation for something. They may have questions about the next step in their own legal process because maybe they've never been through anything like that. Or in other times, if there was a loss of a loved one and they're grieving, then that's where I can step in and maybe help facilitate whatever the next step is. Maybe help the victim figure out what the next step is, whether it's funeral planning or at times crime scene cleanups,
Right.
things
It's just
like
having the
that
information.
that you don't understand happens in the process, but that occurs.
Okay. Okay. And everybody, not everybody, but with C.a.r.e. being around for 38 years now, most people do identify us as sexual assault and domestic violence services. But the mission of C.a.r.e. is to help victims of all violent crime, like you say. So, that right there is something that we've been able to share today that the community probably doesn't know, that we do have an advocate that is available for all violent crime. And yes, their referrals might be back to an advocate here, but it may be other resources that Chad is able to reach for you.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
having me work at the sheriff's office allows me to build relationships with the detectives because I work inside the major crimes. So, since I've been there now a year and a half, uh, they come to me with many more things,
Mhm.
and they give my information out more because they've seen firsthand what I'm able to help assist with. When it first started, everybody was kind of unsure what my role was, what I could do, what I could help with, and all that's just grown as my relationship has grown with the detectives there, and just getting my information out to someone that they think maybe I could help. At the very least, a phone call showing support goes a long way as well.
Exactly. And someone to be there at the most critical time, usually. It may take a while for someone to reach out to us on a hotline, but if your information is given at the time of the event, is that what I'm understanding? That they have access to your name phone number, contact information, like barely
Yep.
seen right after an
Yep.
incident?
Yep. If the detective feels that's necessary, yep, they'll give my information, my card, or just my number, my extension, or they'll come to me the next day and say, hey, can you contact so and so? They'll
Okay.
maybe tell me a little bit about the case, uh,
Okay,
and then I can make a phone call.
great. Well, Chad, we have other presentations coming up. I'm going to take just a minute to talk about some of those.
Sure.
And I want you to give some thought to what you wish the community understood about our work, about your work, maybe. We do have some presentations coming in January. We'll be glad to have our executive director giving a talk on a message for the new year. We will have Lieutenant Carter and Officer Marone Cabrero from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Detention Bureau. We're going to be talking about the programs that C.a.r.e. helps them run over there and what other programs they have available. Of course, everyone knows about our 24-hour hotline at 941-639-5499. Other presentations we will have will be the same nurse. And we're so sorry that did not happen today. However, we wish our best to Rachel, and I want you to know what an important role the same nurse is. So stay tuned for us posting when that'll be. We have some events, and then Chad, I'm gonna come back to you, okay?
Yeah.
Yoga and the wine is what, this Saturday? Oh, okay, this Saturday. And we got pretty weather today. Let's hope it lasts. We do have our Facebook page every day, Instagram. You can get us at C.a.r.e. Charlotte County. And I want you to check us out. What we really would like is you to check out the website, learn some things about our services, learn how to help a friend, and don't ever hesitate to call if you're in fear, if you have questions, if you need someone to talk to. That is what we are here for. So, Chad, we got a few minutes to wind down here. Would like to know, how often do you get a chance to talk to the public? What would you like them to understand or to know or to change? We're all in this to end domestic violence. We're trying to work ourselves out of a job. So
Yeah.
what do you wish the general Charlotte community knew about our work or in your job in particular, maybe?
Well, it's just mainly that the deputies that are out there doing this day to day, they care a lot,
Yes,
and
thank you.
you see that in the reports, you see that in the follow ups, and the system may be frustrating at times. You may feel like the system is working against you and not with you, but sometimes you got to take a step back and understand that it is a system and things have to happen in some sort of sequential order. And you may not like how it has to get there, but it's just a process. And that people on the other end, they care, right? They understand the plight and the pain and everything like that. And I've seen countless follow ups where deputies just check in on people just because maybe they dealt with them a couple days prior and maybe they were having, it was a real bad episode.
Right.
They go back just to knock on the door and say, hey, how are you doing today? So, little things like that. We have a small community, relative, right, to like something like Miami or Fort Myers. So,
We're not big city.
yeah. So, it's a good little small community and everybody cares.
I can't tell you how important that is to hear. I've been a longtime advocate, and even I forget that the frustrations and the processes and the slow system and the system that doesn't work when it should work, that there are dedicated, caring people on the other side of that doing the best that they can within the confines. And what that tells me is that we cannot count on advocates alone or law enforcement alone or teachers alone or the courts alone, it truly takes everyone saying that sexual assault is not okay, domestic violence is not okay, this is not going to be in my family, this is not going to be in my life, this is not going to be in my neighborhood. And I really do thank you for reminding me that they get frustrated because they care too, and they're trying. And we shouldn't have to push so hard to make a system work if we could simply have um, people be respectful of other people. You know, it's almost that simple, don't you think?
I agree.
Okay, okay. Well, Chad, I thank you for jumping in and talking to us today about being an advocate. I'm very glad you're an advocate here at C.a.r.e. and that you brought the caring shout out to the deputies that do very hard work. We are going to go ahead and wind down. And I'm going to just give a shout out for something else we have coming up. Oh, nope, just yoga and wine tomorrow. Oh, it's not tomorrow, it's Saturday. Call 941-639-5499. And as always, if you have questions for C.a.r.e., please give us a ring. Thank you very much for being here, Chad.
No problem.